Welcome to Discovering. A couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to spend some time with world champion decoy carver Harley Reagan and find out a bit about how decoys are made. Now it's time to find out how they work. I spent the day in the Darkhouse with Mike Holmes, who has a couple of world champion decoy carver titles of his own.
I grew up in a spearing family. My dad made decoys, my grandfather made fish decoys.
Then we'll get a wolf season follow-up report.
Wolf season's closed now. We harvested a total of 23 wolves.
And the Upper Peninsula Sportsman's Alliance pays tribute to one of the UP's most notable. That's all tonight, so sit back, put your feet up. It's Monday night and time for Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
There are an estimated 20,000 darkhouse fishermen in Michigan who enjoy the sport of spearing. This historic form of angling has been practiced by die-hard fishermen for over 2 centuries. It's as much a tradition as it is a sport. And fishermen like Mike Holmes wouldn't trade it for anything.
I grew up in a spearing family. My dad made decoys, my grandfather made fish decoys. My uncle, who's now in his 80s, he used to do the shows, and he lives in Idaho. And he carved lots of decoys. And so it's in a family, it's kind of our tradition. And I got hooked at an early age, and like most things that you do when you're a youngster, you do it, and then later in your life you look back and, gee, that was pretty neat. The first sighting of spearing by Native Americans was over by the Mackinac Bridge. Obviously, the bridge wasn't there in 1763, but we basically have the same setup. They had 3 things. They had a structure, and over there it was just like a little hut that they made out of bent tag alders, and then they threw a tarp over it, and they had a decoy, and in that case it was reported that they had some shells, clam shells, and just for an attractor, and then they had a spear. That's all we have here. We're sitting inside of a structure, or the spearing, a darkhouse. And the term darkhouse is because there's no windows in here. You use the light that comes through the ice, and the fish don't see you up here. So your movement, you can move around. If you had a window in here, the movement, they'd spook all the time, or even a bump. And you've got a spear, and you've got a decoy. And so nothing's changed. And we're here it's about 16 feet of water here. And the fish that we're targeting here go out and suspend in the big lake, and then they'll feed out there, and they'll come in here. You don't see herring and whitefish in here, and even smelt you don't see in here because it's too shallow. So that's where they're out, and then they come back in and lay around until that's digested. And every big fish that is in the belly of the ones we spear are all taken in from the head, and that's why when they'll come in and they'll hit the decoy, they'll injure it, and then they'll come back in and they'll grab it by the head and then suck it in. getting into spearfishing, you don't have to have a fancy wooden shack. You really don't. These pop-up tents now that they've got, I spear with guys that from North Dakota and in Minnesota and locals, and as long as you got most of it's as dark as you can, so you don't have any light behind you, so the fish can see the movement. Because as soon as anything comes above them and moves, they spook. I mean, that's just their instinct. So that's all you need. Or a teepee tent that those jacquard teepee tents that you see up in Lake Superior. The guys that are all bobbing lake trout, and I've got 3 of them. I've speared lots of fish over the years, even before I built my permanent shacks. And at spear, any sport shop has them, but the one thing I would recommend, you want to get a spear that has good big barbs right here. A lot of the ones that you'll buy in a local sport shop, they put them on a bandsaw, a metal bandsaw, and they'll cut it in, and then they'll pull that out, and it doesn't hold the fish. You really have to sink your spear into that fish before it holds very good. And good spears are expensive. I mean, expensive anywhere from $75 up to $300. This is a $300 spear right here. Your spear is as important to fishing or spearing as it is, shotgun or a rifle is to hunting. Look at 2 of them. Let me see. Oh, that one. I saw that one last week with the screwed up tail on it. The decoys, you don't have to carve them. It's your preference, but you can. There's a lot of decoys. I every time I go into Cabela's or any other sport show, I gander them out, and everybody's got decoys, and they all work. They all work. They don't have to be wood, and they don't have to be decorative. And even if you want to take a daredevil, a red and white daredevil, take the hooks off or leave the hooks on and just jiggle it. There's a lot of decoys out there that guys make that are just a piece of wood, a flat piece of wood, and when they pull it, they've got different colors on it. It's anything to get those fish to come in within the distance that you want to, so you can throw the spear and harvest. The other thing is you don't throw the spear. You put the head of the spear in the water first, and you just put it in there, because if you splash it in like that before you release it, the fish is going to be gone. So you've got to put it in there, and then slide it. Just hold your hand right here like this, and then push it. You just push it. And the other thing is that when you've got the head of your spear is below the water, there's no refraction. So you're on the same fraction level as the fish is. So all you got to do is just aim. And if you've got, it's like anything else, a grouse flushes, you lead it. And if you got a fish coming in or going out, you want to throw at the head. And the best place that you'll normally hit it is right at the base of the fish's skull. About 32, I'd say. I don't like to put my fish outside of my shack and throw them on the ice. I like to kill them first, and then what I'd like to do is, I don't want blood outside, so people are aware that you're getting one, because it's not uncommon to have there. It's not uncommon to have people put a tip up right outside your door. It's happened before. It's a good eating size right there. You can get into spearing for, if you want to get real fancy, just by buying tents and things. You can do it for probably $200-300. A shack like I've got a 6x6 The materials were about $600. You got to remember, you're only going to do this one time. You're going to purchase one spear, so get a good one. And there's a lot of old antique spears that are good also. But you know, you're going to pay top dollar for antique spears because there's a lot of collectors out there. And the same thing for older fish decoys. You're going to, if you get them from an antique shop, you're going to pay a lot, you know, for them. Cutting the hole, I've got an ice saw that I cut the hole. You make a hole with an auger. If the ice is 12 inches or less, you can saw very comfortably with a saw, but you don't need a saw. You can take any ice auger and you could just, you know, kind of overlap the circles and make a square. The thing that you run into though when you get thicker ice is that you either have to take that ice out or you have to push it under. Well, that's a lot of weight to push underneath the ice. It's a lot easier to pick up some tongs. Every spearfisherman I know has one or two. Once you cut all the auger holes all the way around, you put a few auger holes right in the middle of that chunk of ice and take your ice chisel and break it up into chunks and pull it up. You mark your hole when you're done, whether you put all of your ice chunks back in or you take sticks and put in there or get some branches off the shoreline and mark that. You know, somebody can fall in that or drive a vehicle in it if it's not marked. One of the best places for a beginner to locate a good spot for spearing is weed edges. And what happens is that your bigger predator fish will follow that. They follow that line, and on the one side you've got the weeds, and on the other side is deeper water. And what they're looking for is to get a minnow or any type of small fish out in the deeper water, and they scoot to them and scare them out in deeper water, and then they can, you know, they're easy prey then. You want to do this all in the fall when the weeds, your cabbage, that's that big flat weed, it's done growing for the year. You can GPS it then, or you can, like when we were kids, we would tie a line on a tree that we marked on shore and just fed the line out until we actually measured where the weed edge was and marked it, and then we actually put a knot in it, and then you know, come good ice, we'd walk out, we attach that rope to the same tree and go out. That's always a good place to start. Anytime you've got some type of cover for your predator fish and cover for the bait fish, you're going to get, you know, the two are gonna collide somewhere along the way, so you know you can be there above there with your decoy down and waiting for you know, that situation to create itself. One more you know, little bit of advice: if you're going to put something on the bottom to give you a clarification as to where the bottom is, and especially in water that's a little bit brown or has a tannic acid, tannic brown water, you want to always try to use and only use eggshells, because they dissolve. It takes about a month for them to dissolve, but the eggshells are made of calcium, and the natural acid in the waters will dissolve that over the time, and it doesn't hurt it. It actually helps it a little bit because of the I don't know how much it would help, but at least, you know, you're not putting pieces of tin foil down or anything like that that's going to be there for the eternity. So you look down, if you can see down the hole, you can see how the contrast, especially when you get there early in the morning or late in the afternoon, you've got a little bit of a contrast, so you can see where the bottom is, and so when your decoy is down, you've got a background for it. On decoys, you know, guys will say, well, you know, when they come in, how do they hit them? And it's any scenario. I mean, it's sometimes they'll come in fast and they'll just destroy grab it and shake it and drop it and then come back, or they'll just come in and swing through it and hit it, try to injure it. And sometimes they'll come in real slow and they give you a really nice slow shot on it. That's a nice, no, that's that same one. Jeez. And the important thing with your decoys is that when your decoy is underwater and the fish comes in, there's no refraction. So the same size of your decoy, you can estimate how big the fish is. And if you know the size of your decoys, like that's a 15-inch decoy, well, they've got to be 24 inches. So you just got to add to it. I've actually have one decoy. It's in the truck. That it's 24 inches. I've had, 15-inch pike come in and hit that 24-inch decoy too. So it doesn't matter what size of the decoy, but I prefer more natural fish, and I like bigger decoys. These articulated decoys, you see, all these ones up here, except for that one, has a tail, and that tail gives you direction. Okay. Left or right when it's bent. When you put it in the water, it's going to go that way. With the articulated ones, there's the tail is moving. So what you have to do, you can see the curve in the head. It's like that. And so what happens is that water catches that side of it. So that's what you get to make your fish, turn in that direction. And it's it's not real easy to get that. Oh, that's a nice one. Oh, he turned.
Yeah.
Well, you can show a miss.
See everything.
There you go. You spent hours and hours making these, the decoys. The amount of hours that you put into it, and then you see it actually swimming. And the best thing is when a pike or muskie comes in and it actually hits it, or even comes in and swipes at it. I mean, you always have a smile on your face because it's something you created, it's something that you've got your heart into, and it's working, and it's the satisfaction. And when you get to be my age, there's it means even more. So.
I visited the United Sportsmen's Club in Merriman recently, where the Upper Peninsula Sportsmen's Alliance were holding their quarterly meeting. DNR Supervisor Terry Minzy was there with a follow-up report on the Upper Peninsula's first wolf season.
Wolf season's closed now. We harvested a total of 23 wolves. It was, if I remember the numbers right, 5 in Unit A, which is that area just north of Ironwood, 14 in Unit B, which basically runs diagonally from Baraga down to Lake Gogebic, and then back up towards Ontonagon, a triangle there, and 4 in Unit C. The goal of the wolf season was to get to the point where we can hunt wolves. The 43 animals was established as a ceiling, but the real goal here was to get wolf hunting in as a management tool. We succeeded at that. There's a lot of legislation going on. I think Tom's probably more familiar with that than I. We got 2 referendum basically against the hunt. We've got a new effort that I believe everybody in this room is involved with, trying to maintain the hunt. It's going to be an interesting political year.
Also on the agenda was the presentation of a plaque to a very special sportsman for all that he has done to promote the outdoors here in the Upper Peninsula.
I asked him if I could make this presentation. And for me, it's a real honor to make this presentation. I want to do it not only because I'm talking to a person I think is a real legend in the Upper Peninsula, the things he's done with his videography, the lessons he's taught us, the experiences that he's brought us. He's been a friend for an awful long time, very good, close, personal friend. And so for these reasons, I really feel honored to be able to do this. First of all, we have a plaque which states, presented to Buck LeVasseur in appreciation for your many years of supporting the Upper Peninsula Sportsmen's Alliance and the outdoor sporting public of the Upper Peninsula. This is for you.
Oh, thank you, Dale. Thank you.
And people wonder why he's standing here with a cane, but could be a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons certainly are the things he's done and what he has put himself through to bring us all these things that he has done over the past years.
Well, first of all, I guess I am speechless that you would honor me like this, and I certainly appreciate it. You know, back in 1980, when I came up with the concept of the program, I said I was going to achieve a couple of things, and one, and most importantly, was that I was going to film this program entirely in the woods. And a lot of people, you know, looked up and admired, and I as well, Morton F., the real frontiersman in outdoor television. And Morton and I became friends in his later life. I'd send him tapes, and he would send back critiques. And he would always say at the end, "When are you going national?" And I always said, "I'm not. I'm going to stay right here in the most beautiful place in the world, and that's the UP. And not only is it beautiful here, but the people are beautiful." And if I could stand here and tell you about all of the people I met, we'd be here until sometime in June. But I appreciate this. I tried my best to get to as many things as I could, but as you know, I was a one-man band. And now Brian is a one-man band. He's doing a fine job in my replacement, and I'm happy for that because he too is filming this thing entirely out and about, and not in a studio or anything like that. And I think that was the real treasure of the program, and I'm very proud of that. So thank you very much.
All we had.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next week, right here on Discovering.
Well, I did break my back for you, and